All right, hello and welcome to yet again. I've been drinking. Another episode of Kitchen Table Podcast. Today we have Division Chief Jeff Wilson.
He's already butchered it.
I
told you he was going to mess this up.
We are your hosts,
all
Ryan,
the planning in the world,
and Matt. No matter what we do, I'm still going to ruin every intro.
We spent 20 minutes on this.
Trademark.
Yeah. But you know what? At some point, we'll have a pre-recorded intro, and then we don't have to talk. So, guys, be sure to check out Black Smoke Sticker Company. We have a discount code through them, right? Yeah.
Yep.
And then also FlameDecon. Yet again,
Yep.
another discount code. I'll put that in the bottom. You check them out. In the description. And then we got this square right here that one of the cops made us. So, it's got our logo. I like it.
You know, you recover well from the initial mistake.
Yeah,
and that
every time.
is what it's about.
He's doing great.
It's not the mistake, it's the
So
recovery.
proud of you.
That's right.
It's the recovery.
I practice this all the time. Doesn't matter. I'll always mess it up. So that's just me. Accept it. All right. So today, guys, we're excited to have Jeff Wilson on. Mr. Wilson, would you go ahead and tell us about your career in the fire service?
Well, we have time, right?
Oh, we got
Yeah, we got plenty of time. I think I'm recording.
All right. Yeah, hopefully we don't want to do it twice, right?
Yeah.
Well, it's long and storied, I guess is the way to put it. I'm the kid that, just the average kid that grew up with average grades, and had average dreams, I guess. And I always liked a couple of things. I always thought, machines like trains and airplanes and fire trucks were just like, that's kind of what I thought was cool when I was a kid, And I would kind of beg my mom all the time. It's like, I got to go to the fire station. I want to go to the fire station. I want to see the fire trucks. And we were fortunate where I grew up, in a couple places, we lived very close to the fire station. And so, as a kid, I got some trips over there to visit and check things out. And I remember the first fire that I ever went to. I always knew that I dug this stuff, as a kid.
Oh, yeah.
But I remember the first fire I went to. We were living over off of Stop 11 in a double while we were in transition waiting for our houses to be built. And I was outside, you hear the fire trucks, and it's like, what's up, and I looked across the street, and there was an apartment building, and it was going.
ripping.
I mean, busting. So it's like, boom, across the railroad tracks I go, and into the apartment complex, and it was Green Tree Apartments, Stop 11 in Madison. You guys are probably familiar with that.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Always good.
Oh, yeah.
For some action. Always has
Still
been.
gets
And
it.
this is, my God, this is 1976, I guess, maybe.
Good God.
In that area.
You know how long ago that was?
Yeah.
Try doing the math, man. I'm curious. How long ago?
I'm not good at
I
math.
can't even do it.
30-something years.
So, I get over there, and I'm just like looking at this thing going, this is the real deal. I've never seen anything like this before. And I'm looking at this, and I beat them. And they come in, and I'm watching these guys get there, and they're going to work, man. And they start on this deal and get snorkel set up, which, by the way, is still the coolest piece of fire apparatus ever invented.
I've never got to actually work on a snorkel or ever see one in person.
I'm telling you, it's awesome.
Really?
And yeah, kudos to Chicago for keeping that alive.
Heck yeah.
Snorkel is unbelievable. Anyway, I regress a little bit. So they go to work on this deal, and this thing's just busting, and man, it's burning from end to end, and I stayed there the entire time. For hours, and I'm just like in awe of what's happening.
Fell in love.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, that deal's over with, and I get back home, and I told my mom. I said, and my mom, she's the driving factor of all of this with me. She was she supported me in everything I wanted to do, and she was always on my side, and just bam, she's always hammering me to pursue my dreams and do what I wanted. So anyway, long and short, a couple 3 years go by, and get into high school, and I'm still, I'm doing other things, but I'm still like, man, what? How can I do this? And I didn't even know that cadet programs and things like that existed. There was such a thing. But I had a couple of buddies who, I'm still good friends with today, that were on the Perry Township Fire Department when it existed as Perry Township back then. And they had a cadet program, like other departments did in the area. But I just didn't know about it. And I don't know what started the conversation, but a good friend of mine, Brett Hickman, who was on the cadet program, his sister was actually at Greenwood.
Oh, okay.
Years and years and years ago. So he said, hey, man, I'm on the fire department. I said, you are? He said, yeah, I'm a cadet. He said, you know anything about it? I said, no. So he said, well, why don't you come to our meeting? And I'm thinking, I think I was maybe a sophomore, high school, maybe. It was like 1978, end of 78, first of 79. So I said, all right, that's cool. I'm just what I'm getting into. So he picks me up, and we go to this meeting, and I walk in this place, and it was in a little building behind Perry Township Station 1, which used to be at Epler, Madison. They had a building back there. They had meetings, and
there was
a little a hall that they had, like a fire hall. I walked in. Here's all these guys in there. It's like, I've never done anything like that before. They're having their meeting, and they start talking. And they introduced me, and I fill out the little application. Boom. You get voted on, and how that business goes.
Oh, they voted you on?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, you got voted on back then. They talk about you a little bit, vote you on, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Man.
What year was that again?
I think it was like 70, the end of 78, first part of 79.
Wow.
Yeah. Matt, do you think people would have voted you on?
That from when I was a cadet at the department that I was in, when I was a cadet, you had to write a letter for like a recommendation that you wanted. I'm sure it was the same way when you wanted to get on. You had to write a full-page letter, which for me, good God, that was the hardest thing. Because it's like a full page? Like, what kind of, can I double space everything? How big's the font? Like, how big can I get it? And they're like, no, it's got to be this and this, single spaced all the way out.
Yep.
Why you want to be a firefighter?
Yeah.
So I was like, all right. So I sat down and I wanted to be a firefighter. So I wrote an actual full page, and I think it went a little over a full page. But you had to give it to the advisor. Yeah, you had to give it to the cadet advisor, and then he would review it. And then the shift that was working that day, you would sit in the office, and then they would all like ask you why, and then they would say yes or no.
Yeah.
So I would say, yeah, it was kind of like a voted in thing, but they quickly got away with that. Got away from doing that, which then you start getting, just really anybody.
Well, it's a kinder, gentler society,
yes.
and we have to be,
For sure.
We have to
watch your pronouns.
Yeah.
Exactly. Watch your pronouns.
Yes.
I get kicked off. We get kicked off YouTube. It's,
yeah.
I mean, we're going out in flares, to be honest. If we do, it's going to be awesome.
I'm down.
Social media prisoners.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah.
I'm excited for it. I'm waiting.
Yeah.
I can't wait. So
It'll
I'm
happen.
sorry.
No.
Continue.
No. I mean, I'm probably a little long-winded anyway.
No.
Perfect.
So anyway, we get going, and like I said, I got on the fire department, and things were obviously a lot different back then with rules, regulations, and policies, and age requirements and things like that. It wasn't, I mean, we weren't quite as strict, and we weren't quite as worried about, legality things. They gave it its due attention, but, it's the 70s.
Yep.
So I remember, they kind of told me what I could do and what I couldn't do. And back then it was, there was no like quartermaster system. You got geared from other people, and here I've got this extra coat, and here's a pair of 3/4 length boots, and here's some orange gloves, and here's a plastic fire helmet, so, and got all that stuff from different people. And, it's kind of, you're that new guy, and you can ride, but you can't do anything.
Oh, yeah.
So you can kind of ride along. But anyway, so I went in for my first day, and I'll tell you, and this is really important. I've always told the new guy, always remember the first day you walk in that building,
Oh, yeah.
because it's sacred. Remember the first day you walk in, and the day you walk out, because that's important.
Those are the 2 days you never should forget.
Never. Remember the first call you went on? Write it down.
Yeah.
If you have to. Just write it. Just remember.
Do you remember yours?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I'd love to hear about that.
Yeah. So anyway, I get all my stuff together, and I get in there, and they really had a good program, because they actually had, before you could ride, they had checkoff sheets. Even then, you had to go through every piece of equipment, and they had 3 stations, and I think they had 12 or 13 pieces of equipment back then. And they were doing probably 18 to 2,000 runs.
Wow.
Something in that neighborhood.
Yeah.
It was, Perry Township was pretty big, square mileage wise. So they were doing some calls, and the cool thing too is they were chauffeur only. They had 27 career guys, divided between 3 stations on 3 shifts, which basically meant there was a guy to drive almost everything.
Yeah.
That's the way it was set up. Like the station on Stop 11, which was where I spent a lot of time. They had the snorkel and an engine and a rescue squad and 2 guys. So they had a guy assigned to the snorkel all the time. And then they had a guy that was assigned to the engine, but he took the rescue squad too on EMS calls.
So he flip-flopped.
Flip-flop. He bounced back and forth. But, if the squad was out and the engine caught a run, then the snorkel guy jumped over. So, they had a really good system.
Oh, yeah.
And then the volunteers would respond from home to the scene.
That's...
And the cadets basically rode out. We obviously we didn't drive to any scenes or anything, but we rode the fire trucks. So the first few times I was there, I remember the first day that I walked in, I called ahead and made sure it was okay, and that's what you want to do. And I walked in this place, and I'm amazed. It's like, I'd been there before, but I'd never been there before.
But it was different this time.
Yes.
Coming in.
It's like, this is it, man. I walked in and I went, shit. I'm just looking at this place, and friggin' apparatus, it's beautiful, it was like late 1960s era, and it's just like, let's look at this stuff. It's clean, and you know what I'm saying? It's just
all
like
the pride.
Are you kidding me right now? I'm here. What's next? So I went in, and the two paid guys were in there, and I introduced myself, and it was amazing, because these guys were like, they were incredible, they were so cool, and they said, this is what's going on. They showed me around the firehouse, and I said, I know you can't ride, and they just started going over the apparatus with me, and I didn't have to do that,
No.
They never met me before, and these, because they do their own thing. But I remember it was cool, because, they each had just a different kind of personality about them, like I remember just these weird things kind of stick out, one of them's, they had the steel blue uniform shirts on they wore, with the badge, and like one guy's shirt's untucked, but he's smoking a cigarette.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
He's just hanging out, it's just like...
Oh, I've seen those pictures from back then.
It's just like salt. This guy's cool.
Yes.
And it's like, you think about it, these dudes are going to fires by themselves. With a couple, with guys coming from home, but these dudes are going to fires by themselves. And it's like, wow, it's amazing. And just when you think of that, and you think, I'm a big kind of history guy, and you look at the historical society photos, and you look back at all these things, and these dudes are in their leather coats, and, you know what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah.
And their metal helmets or their leather helmets, and they're pulling these hose carts, or they're driving these horses, and it's like...
Freaking awesome.
They're pulling up to these freaking 6-7 story buildings downtown, with fire on 3 or 4 floors. And you talk about balls.
Yeah.
Think of that.
Yeah.
And here comes the ladder truck, and they got to crank that freaking thing
NFPA and OSHA would have heart attacks going to a museum.
Just think of that. Think of those. Put yourself in their place. Think of what those guys are doing, and we're here because of what those guys did. All the way from Ben Franklin.
Yeah.
But
But that was also the technology of the day.
Oh, yeah.
That was what
That
they
was
had,
probably
and,
top
and
of
they're
the
like,
line.
and they're probably
Yeah.
I haven't personally met any of those guys.
Well,
I don't think.
they're dead.
Yes,
Yeah, but
I haven't
Yeah,
met
Matt,
them.
you'll
But
never
Right.
meet them.
Yeah.
one
But,
day,
you know,
one day. But it's like, but
Yeah.
at that in their minds, like this is going to keep us safe.
Yeah.
And it's a pretty dangerous job, but it's at least better than not having any of that.
I know. You know.
Which is that's trying to think in their mindset. That's pretty difficult.
Yeah. It's amazing, and I get off track sometimes, but, you know, I think of that all the time.
Oh, I love it.
And it's like, you know, it's like, Jesus. I mean, here we are.
Yeah.
Because of what those guys were doing. You know, and it's just, man, they did so much with so little. You know, in comparison to what we have. You know?
Absolutely.
But, you know, anyway, these
And they did it well.
They did it well.
They did it well.
They did it very well. But anyway, you know, these guys all had their own personality, and I just thought, I said, man, these dudes are as cool as the other side of the pillow. You know, they're just dripping with cool.
Oh, yeah.
You know, they're going fires for themselves and blah, blah, blah. But anyway, time goes on, and I get all my required stuff done. And, you know, I finally get to come to the fire station, and I can actually, you know, do something. So I think I was probably 15, maybe a little bit older. So I'm sitting there, you know, and I'm there the whole day, and first aid run comes out, and I don't go because I don't have any first aid yet, you know, so I go in there. And I think that day went by and nothing happened, so I go on my way. It was weird, you know, I think back my mom had to take me to the firehouse and drop me off. You know,
Oh,
it's
yeah.
like, what?
Yeah.
You know, you think of these kids today that come down as cadets and their moms drop them off, you know, and they're like,
Oh, yeah.
that was me.
Yep.
You know,
It was all of it.
15-year-old
Well, most
squirrel,
of us.
here I come, hi.
Yeah.
So I get the next shift comes along, you know, and I'm in there. I remember it's a Saturday morning. I'm sitting there, and the bell rings. They had one bell in the hallway that I remember distinctly. It was in the hallway from the day room to the bunk room. The bell rings, and it's like, oh, shit. And dispatch box alarm. Guess where it's at? Green Tree. No shit.
Where it all began.
Where it all began, yep. So, I'm riding the snorkel. So I get in there, you know, it's open cab. And there's another story behind that, but that's for another time. And anyway, we pull out and get going over there. And I just remember watching the chauffeurs driving, you know, it's just, you know, I'm just amazed this dude's
Just how cool it would be to do
just
that.
wheeling this big ass thing around. You know, we come around the corner and turn in. Sure enough, second floor end apartment, smoke come outside. You know, top floor, one window, just kind of rolling out of there. No fire, but it's pretty heavy smoke. So these guys, I'm telling you, for two of them, it was like clockwork. They pull up there. The driver of the engine gets out, pulls in, and you remember they're using 1.5-inch hose with Navy fog nozzles on them.
Yep.
You know, those little 60-gallon-a-minute deals, whatever they were.
Oh, yeah.
You know? So he pulls this line off and he stretches. And remember now they're in day boots, metal helmets, and orange gloves. That's it.
Damn.
So line gets pulled, stretched up there. Snorkel guy gets out, and you know me, I'm like, what am I? I get out,
Jaws dropped.
got my
just
coat
like that.
on, helmet, pull up boots, you know, ready to do something. I don't know what to do, but I'm ready to do something.
Whatever you want.
So yeah, so out comes the ladder outside the snorkel. He throws the ladder up the second floor, breaks the window out. The engine guy goes back, charges the line. The other guy takes the line up the second floor, puts that thing on a full fog, sticks it in that window, knocks it down, shuts it off. That's it.
Pack up, let's go.
You know, and then and no air packs. That's just the way it happened. You know,
Right.
That's what they did. And man, I can play it back in my mind. You know, much more detailed than that, but that's the Cliff Notes. Yeah, I can just play the whole thing back in my mind. You know, and I'm just like looking at this.
That's so cool that it was, you know, where it all began for you.
Yeah.
Where you fell in love with
It's
it.
amazing.
That's
First,
that's
yeah.
funny how that happens.
It is. It was really ironic. It was like, damn, that's crazy. But yeah, you know, time passed and I got my first aid stuff. You had to have standard first aid, advanced first aid. You know, that's what they kind of did back then. And I remember my first aid call. It was with a guy by the name of Ray Skipper. He was one of the chauffeurs. He worked at Station 1 on Madison, and I was riding with him one night, and we got a squad run down in front of close to the old Southport Middle School in Orinoco, and it was the very first place that, like I said, a guy ran his hand through a window, cut his wrist and stuff all up, and I remember, we got out of the squad, and he said, "Have at it." So, he's standing there with me, making sure I do it right, but he didn't have to do that, I bandaged this kid all up, and, he didn't wear gloves back then. We didn't have them,
Did you guys even have gloves?
No. I mean, those are the days if you didn't go to the hospital with blood in your hands and arms, you weren't doing something right.
You didn't do it.
You didn't do it.
Nothing.
You didn't do anything. You're not bloody enough, So yeah, man, you cleaned that all up, but those were my very first two release, actual runs, and you never forget that stuff, man.
Absolutely.
You can. We didn't really take a lot of pictures back then, when it wasn't a big thing. I mean, like it is today, but pictures are memories, Take the right ones.
Pictures are definitely something that is, I think, big to have. Like you said, it's a memory.
It's history.
I mean, you just had a fire last weekend or the weekend before with your son.
Yeah, how about that?
That is so cool.
Like?
I mean, that picture, when you sent it to me and showed me, that was just incredible.
Yeah, I'll tell you.
That's something you guys will never forget.
Never. We'd had a couple of, I don't know what we'd had some calls before together. Well, our first one, and I'll never forget it. We get back in the ambulance after this first call together, and he said, "Well, Dad," he said, "it wasn't much." He said, "But I'll never forget it."
That's
our first call together. I said, it made me cry, man, because
Yeah.
I get emotional sometimes, but don't tell anybody that. But
I won't tell anybody.
Yeah, right. But yeah, man, I'll tell you, there's you can't explain it. I'd always wanted it to happen, and I'd hoped that I would have still been, at Brand X on the job, and maybe he would have, but it just didn't work out that way, and I was ready to go, so it just didn't work out. But that's okay. It's fine.
But it's funny how it works out now. You guys are doing the job together.
Oh yeah,
and I love seeing the pictures that you post.
Hobbying, it's fine.
That's incredible. I mean, I told you it's amazing that you're still teaching.
Yeah. Well, I love it.
Still teaching that generation that's coming up, and I mean, it's like we keep saying, that's what needs to happen.
Yeah, I fear for the day when there's a certain generation of us that are not around anymore. I hope that we've passed it on to enough.
Yes.
To keep that going, like we were talking about earlier. What's happening to? Yeah. With the social, what are we doing to ourselves?
Right.
With some of that stuff, but yeah, man, it's. I remember we were going over there. I turned around, just kind of looking back to make sure everybody's getting dressed. And, I don't say much, but I was looking around. I just look. He's sitting back there facing forward, and he's ready to go. And it's like, I just kind of, gave him a nod,
Yep.
But
hey, we're getting ready to.
Yeah.
We're getting ready to go.
Yeah, we got a little bit closer, and I said, "Hey, this is what we're gonna do." And this, this, and man, they were on it. So.
How was it just watching him do it?
That was great.
I mean, you're sitting there leading, and you're watching your son do it.
Yeah, it was awesome.
That's so cool.
I said, I just kind of peeked around the corner because he was kind of in another room. I just kind of peeked around the corner. And it's like,
that's my boy.
That's what this is about, right
there.
Yep,
absolutely.
And the rest of them too, because they're all kids,
Yeah.
But they were working, so it's like, that's why we're here.
Yeah, that's great.
But yeah, but anyway, back to the beginning, I guess we'll call it. I stayed down there till probably around 82. And I just realized that there probably wasn't a lot of opportunity going to be there. They were making some big changes, and they were getting ready to hire a bunch of guys, which so I had ran into a couple of guys that were at Wayne Township, and back then they were dubbed as the biggest volunteer fire department in the world. Mm-hmm. I never confirmed. I don't know, but that the Wayne Township Volunteer Fire Department of the old days from 30s, 40s, 50s, all the way up through until they went career. But anyway, they said, hey, we're on out here, and man, we get some fires. It's like, because I'm looking, now.
Oh, yeah.
I need something,
You're in love, like you want to do it.
Yeah. So I'm ready to go. So it's like, and I credit my success to that beginning with the men of the Perry Township Fire Department of that time period, because many of them were like fathers to a lot of us, and they there was a lot of horse assing and stuff that went on, but in the end they took care of us. They made sure that they made sure we were going to school. They wanted us to succeed. And
I remember if you ever brought a bad report card or a midterm card, oh my gosh.
Yeah,
I was more scared of taking that to the firehouse than to my own parents.
Right. But there was a time period when there was a little thing down there, with the volunteer corporation and whatnot, and the politics type thing. That there were some issues, and we didn't know what our future as cadets were going to be. And we ended up kind of getting moved under the full-time guys, or we might have been out the door, So they took care of us, and, and they taught us, and they made sure we knew what we were doing, and
it goes back to that whole mentoring.
Yeah, it's not as you think of it mentoring now. Yeah, it was kind of unspoken, but the knowledge was valuable, and it wasn't a kinder, gentler time then. It was
not at all.
Hey kid, do this, or hey kid, do this, or you'd have a bad run, and it's like, that's what we do. Yeah, get back on the truck because we're leaving and going back to the station to get ready for what's next. It's just
absolutely
the world. Our world was different then. There's no, you didn't get coddled. No. Or, you didn't get your hair brushed down to make you feel better, or whatever that looks like. It was like, this is what you signed up for. Yep. And this is what you're going to do. If you're not going to do it, you can leave. And
sorry to interrupt. Since you were at that generation, as soon as you were getting into it, the older guys, a lot older guys, would you ever hear them say anything of, this newer generation coming in, they're a bunch of, wussies at all, or these guys are too immature, these are just kids, we shouldn't be doing this and that? Because when I was coming in, that's all I heard. No, this newer generation is a bunch of, brats coming in. Did you ever hear any of that when you were coming in? Because that's something I've always wondered.
No. We really, that's a good question. And no, I don't remember any of that. I don't remember that until way, way later in my career, that. Closer, probably. I don't even remember a lot of it in the 90s, talking about those kids, or, that's...
Because I always imagined that the guys that were starting in the 20s, the teens in the 20s, the new guys coming in the 30s and 40s are like, these kids, they don't know nothing. Yeah, and then each generational gap comes in, then they're doing that. I don't know. Right. Which is, I try to ask that to older guys. Like you.
Yeah, no.
Wow. Like the salt and pepper. No, that's the question I try to ask, because what I want to know and understand is if this is a good question. Thing, then what is it that, for the guys like us coming into the next generation, what is it that we can do for the people listening at home? What is it that they can do to kind of change that? Because that's the one thing I cannot stand hearing is an older guy saying it's just your generation. Well, I don't care. I am not a representative of my own generation. I am my own person. Right. I'm wanting to get better. Teach me to be better.
And that's the question. Are you the senior guy, or are you the senior guy? Right. Are you the senior guy because you're the pension thief and you're just.
But or are you the true senior guy?
Or are you the senior guy? Yeah. That's gonna do something about it. But gosh, no. Back then, I really don't remember. I was a snot-nosed little brat.
Oh, we all were.
I would say at some point we've all
long
been,
hair and but God, it was just different, and I don't know what was different about it. I think maybe the attitudes probably are a little different today than they were then, because you couldn't go in to that environment with an attitude like a lot of people have today. You couldn't walk into that place and not be this way and do this and do that and do that. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
You did what you were told, and you didn't question it at all. You didn't question
What would you think has changed that you've noticed? I've got my own theories. I want to hear yours. What do you think has changed from that mindset? Let's go with the word culture. I know we talk about that word a lot, especially nowadays with political culture and accepting just about anything coming by and saying, well, that's the way they think that's their male, they think they're female. It's a culture thing. What do you think the culture has changed from that time frame through the years of what we're coming to now?
I think that for whatever reason, we have just gotten easier on people, and I don't know what's caused it. I don't know if it's a paradigm shift, and something has changed and the world's different. I don't know if it's what they see out there now. I just think that we're way easier on people than we used to be.
Do you think a lot of it could be a lot of policies changing from departments? Do you think a lot of rules changing with the departments? And also, local agencies, state agencies, with them cracking down more on harassment cases, more not just any types of just sexual harassment, physical harassment, but like taunting, what's the other word for
hazing?
Hostile hazing. Do you think a lot of it can come down from that? Because I would hear stories from Steve Dillman of what they used to do, and I would be like, oh my goodness, they would do that?
Yeah.
So it's like he said earlier, it's that whole different time back then.
It is a different time.
A tougher time.
A tougher time, absolutely.
These are guys coming from, earlier on, a lot of military
all
experience.
Military people, most of, you look at these guys, I don't know if you pay attention to the things that come up, IFD posts and about guys that pass away and things like that, and I read all of those backgrounds when all those things get posted. Mm-hmm. And all of those guys, United States Marine Corps, they're all...
They all served.
Yeah, and I think things, when they were growing up, I think things were generally tougher with life.
Yeah,
definitely.
And I think that you're raised harder, to work for what you want. And I think that has shifted, things have gotten easier. So... people don't raise their children the same way they did in 1940, 1950. And I think it's just a natural progression. But, I think that it's made the job different.
Mm-hmm. It definitely has.
What can you see in the future for the fire service? Would you like to get back to how things were? Would you like to have a little bit more of a change in the fire service to get kind of the passion back, down at the bottom of our little crest, the brotherhood back, the top of the crest? What would you think could change that to make it better?
I think that, to answer your question, no, I don't think we should go back to the way it was. I think that I am fortunate and blessed that I came up through that system. I think that those individuals made me what I am today without question.
Absolutely.
And I will always be grateful to them. I think of everything that they taught me, and good and bad. And I clearly wouldn't be sitting here with you guys if it wasn't for that. Does that mean it was right? Who's to say? I don't know. Clearly, and if you talk to Steve Dillman, Lieutenant, let me tell you, he's one of my heroes. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That man,
he's a legend.
If you think of him, I'm regressing a little bit, and then we'll get back to where we're at.
That's fine.
Sitting in the seat of Engine 27 for all those years, think of what that guy has done.
As a lieutenant, he was there for, I believe, 22 years as a lieutenant.
23, yeah.
At 27.
I mean, you think of that engine company now, but think of it through all those years before.
It's crazy.
And you know what? You don't need to say anything else.
You know what's funny is we did a we
Right?
were at a
That's it.
That's it.
That's all you need to say.
Absolutely.
Now, for everybody else listening at home who are definitely out of state who don't know who this guy has been a
he's a legend.
huge impression on the fire service. I don't care where at. And the guy would drag race cars legally, of course, on the IHRA
Sure
or
it
what.
was illegally.
Yeah, so there's illegal too.
you know.
But we're trying to push for him to come onto the podcast. He's dealing with a lot of stuff medically right now, so we're waiting till more safe for him, to where it's more comfortable for him. He is definitely a father figure for me. He saved. I will say this openly. He saved my job at my department. Saved my job, and got me to where I'm at today.
Mm-hmm.
It's all because of him, and the relationship my family has with him. They treat us like family. We treat them just like family.
Yep.
He, like what you were. Pioneer for a lot of stuff.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
He's a man. He is incredible.
Yeah.
I always would say this. His
Yeah.
wife would get upset when I would say this. Me and another guy would always say it. We'd say Steve fucking Dillman, like an SFD.
That's right.
And then we ended up getting him a hat that was from another department that said SFD, and we're like, it stands for Steve fucking Dillman. Like,
that's right.
So we're fighting to get him on, and whenever he can, whenever it's best for him. But that guy, he's got. I'm so happy and blessed that I got to work with him part time after he retired for 32 years. After he retired, he said, I want to go back.
Yeah.
Came back to the department I was at, and he took me under his wing. And
Badass
and
still.
he was working circles.
I did his agility
amazing.
test.
Oh, did you really?
Yeah. Him and I were talking, and I won't go into the specifics of it, but I remember saying, this is fucking stupid.
Yeah, this old guy coming in.
Yeah, and I remember that he looked at me and I said, and we moved on, but I loved. Have you heard his little when he does the interview for the
Yes
IFD with the
yes
fire up on
yes
Ewing or one of those up there? I mean, that's just.
I've got a couple of his DVDs. I got to give them back to him, but I won't.
That's him. Remember, I told you earlier, you have to have a fireman's heart to do this.
Yeah. Mm. That's it.
They don't get any bigger than that, right?
No, they do not.
They don't get any bigger right there. And I mean, I couldn't imagine what a great guy to work for, in the firehouse, and
we were
working a job with him too.
It's funny, we were at an Indians game a few years ago.
Yeah. Oh man.
And I mean, we were sitting in the cove, where you got to have that special ticket.
Yeah.
He literally just walks right down.
Yep.
Walked right by him and was like, "Oh, I'm good,"
Yeah.
And we sat and we listened to him tell stories for an hour. And I could have sat there the whole entire night.
You want to get better at your job?
Absolutely.
Listen to those guys.
Listen to him.
Yes.
And there's hundreds of them.
Thousands.
On the city.
There's thousands of those guys.
Listen to them, yeah. I mean, your Presslers and Lombardos, and if you're ever fortunate enough to listen to those guys, I mean, I could only wish that I could ever be that good. I mean, I'm not even in the same ballpark with those guys, and
he was when he was working part time, and I was fighting hard to get that full time gig.
Mm-hmm.
We'd sit up. I worked a 24-hour spot at that time because we could do it pre-Obama, and
here we go.
I stay away from politics.
Jeez.
But
That's two conversations you never want to have in Firehouse: politics and religion, my friend.
That's right.
Hey,
at the table, at the kitchen table.
At the kitchen table. Those problems cannot be solved. Everything else can be solved.
Right.
I love a good discussion. I love a good banter back and forth. That's why I do it. So we'd sit there. I remember specifically there was a night where I was on the ladder. He was on the engine. They went out for a trash fire. They come back. I'm still sitting there because he was already telling me a story. This was at 1 a.m. So I stayed up.
You got to stay up and listen.
Yes.
That's
He
the
comes
policy.
back. He comes back and he's like, "No, man, where was I at on that story?" And I said, "Steve, you were right here." And I tell him right where he was, and I'm sitting there on the couch
waiting in the bay for him to come back.
I was waiting for him to come back, and he comes back and he sits back down. Poor guy, he was early mid-60s at this point. He sits back down and starts telling the story. Literally falls asleep. as he's telling me the story, falls asleep. So I'm sitting there like, he'll wake back up. Like, I'll just sit here. The stories are that good.
Wait, so did you just awkwardly sit there?
I sat there and waited. This is on the couch. He's telling me a story. I want to hear the rest of it. So I'm waiting, and he wakes back up and just finishes the story.
Gosh.
And I'm like, dude, did you know you fell asleep? He goes, I'm so tired. I said, I'm sorry, but one more story, please. One more story.
Yeah.
And he did. He told me another story. It was awesome that I got to have that experience. And not a lot of people can have that experience.
No.
Yeah.
Which is why we wanted to really start this to get guys that have been
He
on
was
for
a big
long
reason.
time. He is a huge
He was a big
reason.
reason. He was, you know, the main guy we wanted to get on because these guys' stories need to be told.
Hell
I
yeah.
mean, they have to be told. They're going to make you better, and they're going to motivate you.
Yeah.
They are.
That I mean, it's just the bottom line.
And it's the best thing. I read this off, I think it was Crew First Culture's post. It was one of those guys' post, and he said that listening to the old guys' stories is how you can also improve your skills. You learn from their failures.
You want to get better. You learn.
You want to get better. I learn best by listening to other people's failures.
Yeah.
Because it's like, okay, cool. In that situation, I don't want to do that.
Right.
In this situation, I probably should lean more towards doing this. And then berating a guy for making a wrong decision is, if he, of course, he's regretful of the decision, that you shouldn't be berating him on it and just making fun of him for it. But it's like, hey, let's use this as a learning experience to get better. Which is why I love these old guys' stories.
Yeah. You mentioned, berating somebody for making. I lived not too terribly long ago for a few years where some of us were concerned about making decisions and what was going to come of it. I'm talking about responding to calls as a chief officer, and I'm going to make a decision, and I know that there was an individual listening that was just waiting. You know what I'm saying? And that's wrong. You shouldn't put anybody in that position, and the people that are in that position, that should be the last thing on their mind. If I make this decision, what's this guy going to say? What's going to happen tomorrow? And that's one huge problem that we have. And those guys are out there, and it's unfortunate, but
what's a way that if you do have that kind of a guy on the department, what's a way that you can talk to him? Or how should we approach that? Because what I also want on this episode while we talk to you too, I kind of want to get some guidance for guys like myself. I really need the guidance myself, and I'm recording it so I can watch it later when I have an issue. But for guys at home that are listening, or gals, sorry. When I say guys, it's everybody. It's all inclusive.
For the firemen at home that are listening.
That's right.
Firemen,
That includes all of you.
The improper pronoun.
That includes all of you.
Yeah, everybody.
Fire people.
No, firemen.
Joe Biden is our president. So, anyways,
Stop.
I can't help it. I can't help it, folks. I'm doomed to be the president one more day. No, so with guys like that on the department, even if they're an officer that's above you, chief officer, whichever, what is a good way to handle a situation like that? Because in my head, if I'm riding out in the seat and then I know that people are listening and they're going to be, which has happened to me before, and they're going to be berating me on something that I did or didn't say, what's a way to handle that?
Well, it's an interesting question. Clearly, the proper way to handle it is confront them appropriately and say, hey, what's going on? If there's an issue, tell me about it. If I'm doing something wrong, I need to know so we can fix it. The problem is, it's difficult to deal with people that are unreasonable when you're trying to be reasonable. And many times, in my experience, they're unreasonable. It's their way and that's it. And you can say what you want, but until you're in a position to do anything about it, you just deal with it.
What would you rather do? Deal with it on shift or off shift?
I don't really want to deal with anything off shift. I'd rather, deal with that while I'm working. I tried to, and I just, I wasn't making any headway, and eventually, you kind of run out of options, and you have to go to someone else that can do something about it. If you've exhausted every avenue you've got, and then you got to go to them, and hopefully they'll support you, which fortunately it did. It worked out, but it's tough, man. it's a tough deal to be in that position, and to try to get out of it the right way.
Yes, the right way,
Right way.
which is a good thing to add to that too as well. I mean, what we don't want is guys going and skipping the chain of command,
Exactly,
getting themselves in more trouble. You don't
Chain
want that.
of command it is important.
it's very important.
It is important for
Very
a guy like me who has no military experience. I work with guys that were in the military. And I remember being newer, I would always ask some questions on like, hey, how did you deal with this while you were in your unit or squad or whatever they would be calling their group? And it's chain of command has to be followed. But what's so difficult for me, I understand chain of command needs to be followed at the fire department. But what's difficult is when you're friends with the division chief or you're friends with the person who's just a rank above where you have to reach, and it's like, it'd be easier if I just go straight to that guy. It'd be so much easier.
Yeah.
But if I go to let's
buddy
use
and
this
boss?
example. Yes,
Yeah.
and that's so difficult because I've had situations in my career so far where it's like I'm getting nowhere with this position. If I just got to skip this one to go to that, I can get this resolved so quickly.
Yeah, but
And that's a problem.
But you want to respect that, buddy.
But I want to respect that.
And you want to respect that.
Correct.
Yeah.
I want to respect that, and it makes it tough. It makes it harder if you have a boss that isn't as determined to fixing or helping along the way because they think it's going to go nowhere, or they think it's like, no, you shouldn't worry about that. And it's like, but I need an answer on it. Not saying it's the way it is now for me or the way it's always been, but I've seen it happen to other guys. I've worked for other people that have been like that before, but that just makes it a struggle. It makes it a big struggle.
it's also difficult if you have a boss that's got more paper than practical experience.
Certifications.
Yeah.
That's paper.
I've got all this. And in my 31 years, I've spent 1.5 years in the fire station. Oh, well, great. Thanks.
Makes it tough. So with that experience as well, with the guys who have more of the online school, the schooling done more formally before fire service on scene time or even on the crews, what is a way to go about that to kind of explain that to them? Because I'm sure that's everywhere. I'm sure it's in every department in every state, and some guys might be dealing with that issue. What would be a good way you think to deal with something like that? That chief or that whatever, the battalion or the chief.
When you were the battalion, how would you
deal with that?
Boy, that's a loaded question.
I'm sorry. I'm really
Wow.
trying to break it down to make it easier. But
We
how
haven't
would you
even
deal
answered the
with something like
first question yet.
No, I know. We completely skipped it, but you were going on a roll, and
About-
I didn't want.
Well, you guys-
like, where's your career going? Like, where have you been?
gotta-
And you just went like, well, when I was 4. Let me talk about when my mother met my father.
Yeah.
And so, how would you deal with that? How about this? You answer that question, and then we'll talk about where you've been at in your career, positions you've held, if you'd like, and then we could talk about you moving to Florida, then moving back.
See, again, when I started in this business, it seems to me that it was all practical experience and the education piece of it, the formal education piece of it just kind of wasn't. I mean, it was there, but like when I finally went to Wayne, it was great because they had the training academy and they had a good training staff and you could get all your master certifications. That's what they were called, master firefighter and things like that. And through time I added those things on, but I don't know that I got. It used to be first class firefighter or second class firefighter back in the day, and I don't think that I got. It was second class first and first class second. Yeah, so I don't think I got. It was like 1990 before I even got my first class. I had second class in like 83, I think, and then I got my EMT in like 1982. But I didn't have that second formal class until 1990.
When was that required, though? That wasn't required until, I would say, the early 90s. Well, because that's what I've heard from other guys, that it wasn't, that having all those certs wasn't required until a certain year in the fire service.
I don't remember exactly all the parameters of that. I know that, you had to be 16 to get your second class firefighter then. And you had to be 18 to be an EMT. But as for when you were required to have that, I'm not sure. Okay. I don't remember. But in answering the, how you deal with that, like I said, I came up in an era that it was reversed. Now the big thing is education, 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 and that's great. But gosh, if you don't have the practical piece to go with it, how can you talk to somebody who's had all these years of doing this job and working hard and getting dirty, and you have half that time or less, but all of this paperwork, and now you're promoted ahead of these people, Mm-hmm. It's hard,
It's very difficult.
and I guess you need to hope that person is reasonable enough to value you and your experience. Mm-hmm. Hopefully they will be open, and say, hey, you've been doing this a lot longer than me. Mm-hmm. So tell me how to do this. How do I need to approach these guys? And I've had people ask me that before. But then you have the ones that don't. And you have to grit your teeth and tough it out and maybe say something to them, say, hey, look, I've been doing this for a long time, so why don't you cut me a little slack, Why don't we talk about it? And
that goes back to everything we've been saying is the communication is just big.
It is. It's huge.
You got to have these discussions.
And you know what? None of us are good at it.
No.
We're not as good as we should be at it.
Right.
We want to be, but then again, we should be.
Culture of the fire service, we talk communication. This is just something that I see and I think can be an issue. When we talk communication, things that first pop into my head are mental illness. That's the first thing that pops in my head when we think communication. I understand you look up every line of duty death. First three things in there, the first thing is always going to be communication. Lack of communication is what gets firefighters killed.
That's what you said earlier when we were talking.
Always.
And you look up any line of duty death, I guarantee you communication is going to be in there. Mm-hmm. When we talk about that, I think of as the culture comes by from the stories that I've heard of from the Steve Dillmans, from the guys with a lot more experience on where we work at, or anybody that I meet that starts talking, a lot of the stuff is just, suck it up, buttercup. Like, that's just our job.
That's
you said it earlier. That's how it is.
That's it.
Absolutely.
And then we come to more of an area now to where, as I was being raised, it's kind of, I remember hearing at school, let's talk about your feelings. Well, no, that's lame. I don't want to talk about my feelings. Yeah. But growing up more and listening to different people talk, listening to some, I haven't seen a psychologist, but or a shrink, there's no issue with seeing somebody, but I've listened to other ones talk. I'm like, it probably would be healthy to talk about your feelings. It would be healthy to talk about things that are on your mind. Mm-hmm. When we say communication, that comes down to it as well. I think you can also, as generationally we all change, we learn more about each other. We got closer as friends. We hated each other. We talked about that in the first episode. We did not like each other in the beginning when we started working together. But once we started talking more and learning more about each other, and I started coming to you with issues that I was having, then we started building more of a relationship. Yeah. And now look, man, you were at my wedding. You've been there for me through a lot of stuff. And when we talk communication with guys, the times that I've noticed that there is more of a lack of communication is the guys that I don't have good relationships with.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Whether that be we don't talk at the firehouse, whether it be we don't hang out outside of it, it makes it difficult to have a good set of communicational skills with that person with barely knowing them. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Maybe I'm wrong.
Well, and
maybe I'm wrong on that.
No, you're not. You talk about, you mentioned that I hit the buddy boss thing,
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
And that was one thing, I know how most of my guys, when I was the battalion chief, I had a shift that, I loved every one of those. I valued everything they did. I loved those guys, but, they had a lot of events and things they do off duty, and they would always invite me. And I think probably, after a while they realized, well, he's not coming, but I just...
That's nice.
Yeah, there were a couple times that I would pop in, but I just didn't feel in my position that I should be there. you know, and it was nothing against them, because like I said, I loved every one of them. I still do. I miss the shit out of all of them. But I just didn't think that it was the right thing for me to do. You know, because you never know. I mean, something might go down 2 weeks from then, and then I've got to deal with it. You know, we were just doing this, and it's not. So I just felt it was better to kind of just stay away from that type of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like I said, there was a couple of events they had where I'd pop in and visit for a few minutes, you know, and be on my way. But it's real difficult to separate the whole buddy boss thing when you're in those positions.
Absolutely.
Do you regret any of that at all?
Not attending any of those
not
things?
attending, not going?
I do not.
Okay.
Because I think it kept us as a group of employees or brothers and sisters. It kept us at an even keel, you know. And it's like, I think somebody might correct me when they hear me say it, but I think that they knew where I stood as their boss, and I knew what they expected and where they stood, and there was a line, and they were all respectful enough to not cross that line.
Yeah.
You know, and I had some strong-willed people on my shift, especially on my ladder crew, and I respected that captain to no end because of the way he was, and the fireman that he was, and I just, you know, and I think it was mutual, but like I said, I don't regret not going to any of that stuff.
Do you think that it would have changed a lot of the guys' behaviors while they were there? This is the only reason why I'm saying this is if another guy's dealing with this at another department, like, hey man, our battalion chief ain't coming. But instead of him, you know, might having an issue with asking him personally, do you think that it was kind of like hey, we're wanting to have fun, let loose a little bit, kind of say whatever we want. If we want to complain about something, we can complain about it. It just makes it easier that the battalion's not here.
Yeah.
Like, do you think it could have been something similar to that?
I don't think that they were afraid to talk around me. I always considered myself a guest in the fire station.
Yeah.
It's your house. Yes, I'm stationed here, but I'm a guest. And I tried to stay out of their business. I mean, you know, we sat and watched TV and, you know, stuff like that. But but I wanted them to rest assured that, you know, I know it's your place and I'm just here. And, you know, I let them know, you know, when I do my rounds and stuff, hey, and they knew I'm the easiest guy in the world to get along. I'm not looking for anything here, man.
Yeah.
I'm not going to, you know, poke my head around the corner and see if you're doing this or that. I mean, that's games. You know, and if we have to do that, our problems are much, much bigger. You know, so, you know, they knew that and I trust them. You got to trust your people.
Yeah.
You got to treat them equally, fairly, and consistently. You got to trust them. If you can't trust them, you know,
what do we have?
What are we doing?
Yeah, what do we have then?
You know, if I can't trust you in the firehouse, how can I trust you to catch a plug and do the right thing on fire? You know, so
that's pretty good to bring up. If there's no trust at the firehouse, then and that can come back down to having a younger guy who thinks he knows everything. It can come to an older guy who thinks he knows everything and just doesn't have that experience. How can we build that trust? And what's the best way of building the trust?
That goes back to answering the original question of, do I wish it would go back the way it was? And I said, no, I don't, because I don't know if we did it right then, you know? Who's to say?
Right.
Right, who's to say who's doing what? I mean, it's all subjective. I think a lot of it was good, but I think we need to plug some of the stuff in. You know, you mentioned the harassment and things like that. Sure, we got to curtail that. I mean, there's no room for that stuff.
I always look at it
shut
as,
it off.
What's that building? How is this making me a better fireman? How is this making firefighter? How is this making me better?
By busting somebody's balls or jacking with them, or
you pulling my pants down and spraying me with whipped cream. How does that? I hate whipped cream, by the way.
Yeah.
How is that making me a better fireman? That's how I look at it. I get it. Little practical jokes here and there makes things fun. It makes things light. But when it gets too far, it's like
when the hazing goes too far.
When the hazing goes, I keep forgetting that word hazing. When it goes too far, how does that make me a better fireman?
Yeah.
Which is it created.
It's a slippery slope, man.
It's a very slippery slope, and it created an angst that I would have towards the department, not my specific department, towards the fire service.
The service, yeah,
the
the business.
service. I'm like,
Yeah.
I don't want to do this.
Yeah.
If this is what it's about, this is stupid. I don't want to be a part of this. I'm not learning anything. I'm coming in and getting, hey, he's doing this and that, and then I'm hearing other guys having other issues, and I'm like, this. How are we supposed to grow? Then guys. I'm not turning this into a complaining session, but then guys complain these kids don't know what they're doing. Well, you're the one that spent 6 hours like hazing them all day long. What did you teach them?
Why don't you spend 6 hours telling him what he's supposed to do?
Tell them
And here's
stories
the thing,
of the war days.
They probably been on the job 6 months, and the chances are they probably didn't grow up in the business like I did, or lots of they were just a kid off the street, and it's a great job, and they get lucky
that
enough
mentoring.
to get it.
We got to mentor.
So
we
don't
got
call
to
them a fucking goof because they don't know what they're doing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was something that
Bring 'em in and
that was something
sit
that
'em
I
down.
noticed early on.
Yeah.
Sorry to interrupt, but
You don't
that was something I
interrupt, you're
noticed early on, and that was something that I am a huge proponent on. If we're going to be sitting there harassing guys or doing practical jokes all day long, well, why don't you spend half that time doing some training, learning, tabletop discussions, kitchen tabletop discussions. Last shift.
Nice plug.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Kitchen Table Podcast. Check us out on Spotify, Anchor.
YouTube.
Sit them down and explain that, hey, you know what? There's dishes to be done. There's toilets to be cleaned.
Yeah.
I mean, and that's the way that this goes.
Oh, yeah, that stuff's perfectly fine.
So-
Get all that stuff
So
cleaned
be
out. Get it.
quiet and do what you're supposed to do. And if you have a question that relates to this job, please ask.
Absolutely.
Every single time you have a question. So I think we take some of the old, some of the new, and put it together. And if we could find that common ground somewhere, those are probably the successful organizations that have found that common ground and they know how to do that. And
I would say that comes down to almost a mindset of. I've seen it myself with guys who, earlier on in their career, harassed and hazed and talked down to the entire time and told that it's their generation's fault, and then they're coming up and they don't want to do a single thing. I'm just here until I get my time in, then I'm out.
Yeah.
And
that's no way to spend this job.
No. And that's what we want to get
sucks.
away from.
What I don't want is those guys. I don't want them to leave. I want them to enjoy coming in.
Yeah.
I want them to have fun. I've worked with guys that were like that. I'm sure we all have.
Let them do what they signed up to do.
Yes, and let's have fun with it. Let's make this enjoyable. Let's learn something every day. It sucks.
The job is fun.
Sometimes. It is fun. It is the easiest gig I can think of.
Yeah.
I mean, I can think of easier gigs, to be honest. Like
It's hard to screw
being
it
a
up.
YouTube star, but
It is
It's
hard to screw it up.
I've
It
seen
is.
it.
It's
I've seen people
difficult.
do it.
yeah,
Yeah.
But it's hard to screw up. I mean, you get paid in most instances. We're talking about,
Yes.
I understand the hobby side of it, and I love it. I do it.
Yeah.
And I would do it every single day, if I could. And I was volunteer when I started, and I am now, and I hope that, I can do both. I had a great career, and I'd go to every fire in the world if I could figure out how to do it. Still, as long as I can walk. But what was I saying?
it's that old age. Man.
Yeah, it is that old age.
man.
Man, I don't know. I got crazy and lost track of what I was talking about.
We were talking about guys having bad attitudes and then just not.
Oh
wanting
yeah,
to train other dudes.
I'm talking about.
Or other guys and gals having bad attitudes, and then I don't care, but
Yeah. Oh yeah, we're talking about screwing the job up, and it's so easy. You get paid. Like I said, as a career, we're talking about those of us who get paid, and that's okay. To ride a fire engine. Think about that for a minute, or a ladder truck. You're getting paid to do that, and you're getting paid to spray water, and you're getting paid to open roofs. Why on earth would you ever want to do anything to screw that up? That's the part when I've seen people get in trouble, and I've even probably said that to them. It's like, why? But I think that I'm so passionate about it. That, and some people aren't, and that's okay too.
Right.
It doesn't matter. That's fine, as long as you do what you're supposed to do. it's so easy to not screw it up, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Just go to work.
Yeah.
And it's just like being on a medic truck, you know, because it's it's a headache sometimes, but just smile and take people to the hospital.
Like we said last week.
That's all you gotta do. I mean,
They deserve our best.
they do.
I mean, bottom line.
We're here for them.
Yeah.
I
Absolutely.
mean, you don't think in 1906, you know, those Hezekiah and those guys are playing cards, you know, thinking.
Did you say Hezekiah?
Yeah, I'm thinking about old
Are
guys.
you talking about biblical times now?
You know, he's thinking, you know, I think we're here for us. Of course not. That thought probably never went through their mind.
Right.
You know, we're here to take care of these people, you know.
Yep.
And
They deserve our absolute best.
what a distinguished honor that it is to call yourself a fireman.
Yep.
Right?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
It is.
You get to put that uniform on,
You know.
every single day.
You know, and I mean, you have to have some humility, you know, and
Gotta be humble.
And be humble.
You gotta be
Yeah.
humble about it.
And passionate, you know, and not afraid to work, you know. But I mean, I've got a book of mistakes. There's policies all over this place that have my name on them,
Yeah.
you know. But it only took me once to fuck it up, and I figured it out.
Yep.
If I didn't, I asked somebody, you know. But yeah, man, I mean, what a great job.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love it.
I mean,
I love going.
I could say that a billion times, you know,
Yeah.
and I'm fortunate. I mean, it brings tears to my eyes to think back to all of these wonderful people that I met that have helped me, you know, and I just think, what an opportunity I had, you know, and a lot of them have, you know, from my days at Wayne, there's some really good people that helped me that aren't with us anymore, you know, and I remember getting screamed at, you know, by one person in particular that, yeah, he's a good dude, you know, but he had not a whole lot of tact, but learned a lot. I mean, you know, and you know, when we talked about Lieutenant Dillman earlier, he told me, and we had a talk one day, and he said, make sure before you leave, it's what you really want to do. Make sure you're ready. And I said, oh, okay, you know, and I wasn't ready. I might have been ready to leave what I was doing, but I wasn't ready to leave this business. And
Because now you're back.
Is that when you went down to
yes,
I can say Florida, right?
yeah, you can say it if you want.
Yeah,
Sorry.
Florida.
Yeah. Did we have another question? I think we.
Oh yeah, I've got plenty of
Well, did
questions.
we cover them, though,
I'm letting
already?
you go. No. No, I'm letting you kind of do
Because I
your
remember
own
I
thing.
stopped at
I'm trying not to interrupt.
I remember my
Captain Sauce.
my stop
Yeah.
at Wayne Township. We stopped there with my, you know.
Yeah, we stopped there. Your career. You've got an
I'm sorry.
interesting
Let me.
career.
The Wayne Township Volunteer Fire Department.
Volunteer.
Volunteer. You've got an interesting career. I've always heard about your name, Jeff Wilson. Jeff Wilson's here. Jeff Wilson's there. Well, okay, so where's his full-time job? Like, because I don't know. I had no clue for the longest time.
Yeah, really?
No, because I'd hear your name.
You know, I
at
had
like
two,
6 different
I had
departments.
2 full-time gigs. You
Okay,
know.
so there.
I got on the
that
job
helps.
back in '92, I guess, full-time. In a land far away from here in another county.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I stayed there for,
Okay.
I got 10 years there, I think, maybe.
And then you moved recently, past few years, moved down to Florida.
I did. I retired in.
You allowed to say you want to? Can you say the reason of why you moved down to Florida?
Well, yeah, it's cold
Hey,
here.
Cold here, yeah. But,
Retired.
but
It's
you're back.
cold
You're
here.
back now.
I am.
So then, why did you leave Florida to come back
well,
where it's cold?
well. We're skipping a whole lot of shit to get to
Yeah,
that.
That's
God
fine.
dang, Matt.
I mean,
What's that?
we're skipping a lot of shit to get to that.
We can.
We can do it.
Let's do it.
Alright.
I mean, what we're hour and 9 minutes in.
Oh my God, we've been talking for an hour and 9
It's
minutes.
crazy.
You've been talking for an hour.
It's amazing.
Jeez,
It's
Jeez.
great. It
And I
goes
haven't
by-
even gotten any of the good stories yet.
No, I know, but let's.
I think the statute of limitations is out on a lot of them though, so we can talk about.
we can do that.
just
I
now.
really
Just
want to
change
talk
the
about the
names.
Ramada Inn.
Yeah.
One of our producer Jacob said he wants to. He wants this.
That's the Wayne Township Volunteer Fire Department days.
Yeah. So, let's go ahead and talk about.
You asked about Florida first.
Why you moved down to Florida and why back?
So, I'd say for most of my life, I have wanted to move to Florida. I mean, I would always, I'd get 2 or 3 vacations a year down there, and it's just my thing, man. I loved it, and I talked it over with my wife, and we discussed some things. I said, hey, you know what? I think I'm ready to end this for now, and a lot of that had to do with the job that I was doing at Brand X. You get a completely different perspective of what drives people when you get the 30,000 foot view, if that makes any sense to you. Mm-hmm. And it was difficult, especially the first year that I took on that new role. The second year wasn't too bad, but the first year was difficult. Anyway, I decided that, I talked to Kathy and I said, hey, I think it's time. Let's give this a shot. Let's see what this is about. I said, I don't want to wait till I'm 70 and move down there and, and then, I mean...
You can't enjoy
anything. At least that's what I thought, And so fast forward, I went ahead and put my papers in. I did a year drop and I rolled out there in 2018, I guess. And that was 3 years ago today.
Wow.
Today?
What's that, 26th?
Today?
Oh, it's your birthday, too.
Today's your birthday?
It is my birthday, yes.
Hey.
It is
Forgot about that.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Hey, you know what? I'm going to shake your hand.
All right.
Hey, this is the first handshake on the Kitchen Table podcast. Just saying, mark that.
Sorry about that.
I shook it earlier.
First handshake, folks.
I guess it was the 28th. So it was 3 years and almost exactly 3 years ago.
Wow.
And Kathy had went because of her job. She went ahead and went half a year earlier, I guess, 6-8 months earlier. And I stayed here, finished out my drop, and got everything done. And man, we just packed up and rolled out. I told the kids, I said, hey, you can go if you want. Here's the plan, and they I guess they agreed. I think they did, but 70%, I guess they agreed. Anyway, that's a whole other story. Also, God, are there a lot of podcasts? Because I have a lot of stories.
Is there a lot of podcasts? I mean, out there?
No, I mean, are we planning a lot here? Because,
yes.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So
yes.
anyway, we get down there and
you got your own logo. Remember that?
Yeah. And I got down there, and the first few months of not being in the fire department were okay. It was okay. It's like maybe a little break was good. I think you can say that about anything. And so I started working for the EMS system down there as a medic, and which was fine. It's busy. It is what it is. It's like anything else, And as time went on, I started to pursue potentially getting my fire certifications in Florida because they won't take anything from here. Mm-hmm. It's just a lot of states are like that, but they wouldn't take anything from here. And there's a couple ways to go about it. You can go up and test out and do a 3-day test out thing, or you can go through, one of their academies. And I thought about it. It's like, shit, I don't know. I definitely didn't want to go back through an academy. I was 53 years old, and it's like, I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
I don't want to mess with that. I'll break something for sure. So, I don't know. I hem-hawed around with it, and it just never panned out, And it's a little different down there. Fire service is a little bit different down there. I mean, biz is the biz, but it's just a little bit different. So, anyway, it wasn't going to happen. Mm-hmm. And I just don't think that I was really happy, with knowing that it wasn't going to happen. And there were some other, family type things that were nothing bad, but just, some, red flag pop up here and there.
Oh, yeah.
And, interesting story about Nate. He wasn't sure what he wanted to do. He knew he wanted to get on the job someday, but he wasn't sure how to go about it. He's a kid.
Mm-hmm.
You know how that goes. And he actually came up on a really bad car crash. And he saw a friend, a sibling of a friend, get killed in that crash. And he called me that night, and he said, I know now. He said, I know what I want to do. And in 6 months, that kid is in school, and he's on the fire department.
That's great.
That fast. And
That's
he's
great.
just, man.
He wanted it.
He did. He
wants it.
He just didn't know how to get where he wanted to be. I don't know if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
But he was just kind of stuck, and boom, and I couldn't be more proud of him. I mean, he's doing great. But my daughter, all of our kids are here. We have combined the kids between us, all except one, and they're all doing great. And my daughter's in the Army, and we're super proud of her. And the older ones are working and they're doing their thing, and so there was just a lot of little family things that were kind of popping up, and I think both of us really wanted to be back here, Kathy and I. I think we really, deep down inside, I mean, of course the weather, you can't beat that. We lived on the water, and it's beautiful, but that's not always enough, you know what I mean? And I think we really wanted to be here, so we had to talk about it, and boom.
Wow.
Made it happen.
So how long would you say after retirement, like when you realize, wow, I really miss it?
3 weeks.
3 weeks.
No, probably.
You know what I mean? Like
Probably, I don't know, 4 to 6 months, probably.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah. Because
every time you see an engine go by or, it's...
Yeah, it's like, I wonder what that's all about. And then the thing was working for EMS, some of the stations were actually in firehouses. And I made a lot of friends. There were a lot of good firemen down there, great guys. And, they appreciated where I had come from. And, you have to kind of have that bond, and they have a lot of the same struggles, we do. And but it's a different world, with the things they deal with down there, with the weather and wildfires and the water. And, they do a lot of cool stuff. But I just decided that
time to come back.
time to come. We took into account everything that was going on, and my mom got sick, and she's fine now. But she had an episode, and so all that stuff, it just kind of came to a head, and it's like, let's do this. And,
yeah.
I kind of reached out to some people up here to see, what work-wise was going on, and it just worked out, So here we are, adventure number 3.
Adventure number 3.
In life, adventure number 2 in the fire service, And,
well, if you miss the beach, you can head up north near Gary and all that. They got some good beaches up there, I heard. Or you go to Indiana Beach. There's that. There's
Indiana Beach, I think it's closed.
Is it closed? I am not with the
I think
times.
it's closed.
It's been closed for years.
Has it really?
I did go, when I was young, though, I did go to Indiana Beach.
Really?
It was pretty cool.
I've never been to Indiana Beach. Indiana Beach. I've never been.
This is what I deal with.
I understand.
Hey.
This is...
That's all right.
This is it.
So there's your answer. That's why I'm
Great.
back. And
An hour and a half in, we got it. No, I'm just kidding.
we got it. Yeah, we got it. I pulled it out.
So
and,
the
happy to
question
be
that-
back. Excited.
I'm glad you're
to
back.
be back.
Mm-hmm.
I missed everybody. So
It's like this is home. This is
It is
fam-
home.
This is where
it
family's
is home.
at.
It is home. Now here's the caveat to that. It wasn't a mistake.
Mm-hmm.
It was a good experiment,
Absolutely.
and I learned a lot. Kathy and I learned a lot, and I'm glad we did it. And I know. You know, it's different. It's different when you work there and live there and work there than when you live here and go on vacation.
Yeah.
Totally different.
You know, totally different.
I've never lived there.
So
I don't
yeah,
know.
and I would never.
I could see it.
Tell anybody, you know, don't do it. Don't try
Yeah.
it. Just know what you want before you do something like that. Before you make that leap.
Sure.
Just make sure you know what you want.
Sure.
What are you looking for? You know, and yeah. So here we are, and
Awesome.
I'm back, and so you want to know about the Ramada?
I was going to ask about the Ramada. So if anybody doesn't know, 1987, the Indianapolis
October 20th.
Ramada in A-7D Corsair 2 crash. Now I was wanting to look at the death. There was only one survivor, is what it's saying here.
Well,
online.
there were I believe there were 11 total.
11
that
total.
were killed.
Now,
Not including the pilot because he ejected.
he ejected.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Corsair bubble. Parachuted to safety. Okay, so 10 persons, most of them hotel employees, lost their lives in the accident on October 20th, 1987. After
So it's 10.
experiencing an engine flameout while attempting an emergency landing at the airport, Air Force Major Bruce Teagarden ejected from his A-7 Corsair, no longer able to control it. He parachuted to safety. The fighter jet struck the roof of a nearby bank building, hit the ground, skidded across the street and parking lot, ended up in the front entrance of the Ramada Inn, setting it afire. After the fire, the building sat empty for several years. It says afire.
A fire.
A fire. It said it.
I believe you, Matt.
I can read.
Well, I
Thank
don't
you,
know about
Ryan.
that.
Several years
Let's
after
not
the
get
hotel
carried
was
away.
demolished. So, you said your first truck.
We were first truck. We didn't call
How-
it first truck back then.
Yeah. Well, what'd you call it?
We just
Truck.
called it on the scene. And then, you know, we weren't there yet. None of us were there
how
yet.
old were you at this time?
Well, I graduated in 83, and I was 18, obviously. So what's that, 87? It's what, 4 years?
I don't know.
22?
Yeah,
Numbers.
22.
22?
22, so 22 years old.
Yeah.
Pulling up. Do you remember even what it was dispatched as? Just building
I
fire?
do.
Or?
No, I do, because it's an interesting story. Like many of the Wayne Township volunteer fire department days stories were. I'm going to tell you, we could talk for hours about that place.
About the Ramada Inn? Now,
No.
Oh.
The days at Wayne and
Which I love seeing all you old timer Wayne guys
yeah.
talking, like, you know, whenever a picture is shared or something.
Man, I'll tell you, I love those guys.
Yeah.
And
You guys still have
what a
that
great,
that bond.
Great group of people
Yeah.
out there. You know,
It's great.
And my good friend Tony Buckrock,
Yes.
probably another guy that you should have.
I have talked to him.
Man, Tony, let me tell you something. That guy made me a fireman. You talk about a natural guy. That's the guy. I mean, I thought I was, you know, but that guy, he had it, and we went through some shit together, man. Good and bad.
Yeah.
And in and out of the firehouse, but you know, through it all, you know, we're still friends today, and
It's great.
Yeah, I just talked to him not too long ago. But anyway, yeah, you know, the good thing about those days at that department, you know, when I got on there in 82-ish, the end of 82, do you want to say something?
The Ramada Inn fire. I was just asking, like, what was the first dispatch test? I'm just wondering because I want to know what was going through your head.
I'm getting there.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I'm building up.
Dang, Matt.
You asked how old I was, so I'm trying to put that platform in place.
I'm just trying to make
Chief.
sure.
I apologize.
It's all right.
I
Hey,
apologize.
I've skipped rank before.
I understand. Yeah, chain of command. Why don't you
I
hang
break
tight
it.
for just a minute?
Gosh.
Come on, kitten.
Well, Ryan, can you go ahead and forward it? No, I just want to make sure. What I don't want is just 30, 40 minutes, and then you ask me what was it about, and I'm like, I don't know. So I just remember.
I'm gonna remember. I'm
I
not that
won't.
bad yet.
I'm pretty bad.
All right. So
Yeah.
So my point
Yes.
to that was that was a different world out there. Mm-hmm. It was busy for them. Lots of fires because we're coming out of the 70s into the 80s, you know, lots of fire. So when I got on there, you know, I'm 18, I'm a punk, you know, and I mean, I still remember my first fire there. I remember my first run, you know. that's the first place that I was a part of a crew. You know, it was different than here. You know, now I'm a member of a fire apparatus with more than one person on it. You know what I'm saying? 3 or 4 people. And anyway, lots of fires, lots of activity. So I was learning, you know, as I go. Oh, this is how this. This is what they were talking about. This is how this goes. So, fast forward to that, we had a fire class that was scheduled for that day, and another little piece of that is we were waiting for the airport disaster drill, which they tried to do one yearly.
Mm-hmm. And so this is at the same time period.
Coming up for that, same time period.
Oh man!
So we get in the truck. An 85-foot tower ladder is what truck 2 was, and it was a badass machine. I mean, you could run over stuff, bang into shit. Whether it was just a tank, you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
It was a tank. So we head up to headquarters, and we're actually in the training building, and we're taking a class. It's like a precursor to Firefighter 1 or something. We were doing, getting ready for something. So we're in class, you know, we're sitting there, and I think there were 6 of us on a truck that day, and we didn't have night watch or anything like that, as we think about it now. So the speakers are on in the headquarters building, and we hear the airport chief contact our dispatch center. And back then, you understand, you know, we still had the separate dispatch centers everywhere. I mean, nothing was really a thing yet for consolidated communication. It was after that, but it wasn't during that. Mm-hmm. So we hear the airport chief hit our dispatch center, and, you know, blah, blah, blah. We have a confirmed aircraft crash, you know, so naturally we think it's the drill. Mm-hmm. That's why we're up here for this class. That's why we have extra people. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. It's a drill day. So he continues his little transmission, and at the end of it, he said, I'll never forget, he said, this is not a drill. We have a confirmed aircraft down. Now, understand, we didn't know what it was. You know, they did, but we didn't.
Right.
We just know it was a plane crash. It's like, shit. So we load up, you know, get in the truck, and the dispatch was like an hour long. We get in the ladder, and we're heading south on 465, and I remember peeking around the side of the truck and looking south towards the airport, and man, it's just like a tornado of smoke.
Really?
As high and as wide as you can see. It's like
how
it's like
how wide and how high do you think it was?
I don't know. It was
big.
Just huge.
It was enormous.
What was the feeling you got after you saw that?
I remember thinking that to myself, this is the one. Remember we were talking about this. I said,
yep.
You know, because you know, in those days we all wanted to work there full time. You know, that's we were waiting on. You know, what's going to happen? What's going to make that happen? You know, is anything? And I'm thinking to myself, this is the one. This is it. You know, this is the big deal. We're going to have to make some changes. And you know, I'm thinking, man, what are we going to do? How do you handle something like this? And it's a high rise. You know, 6, 7 stories, whatever their model was. I don't know, it's 6 or 7 stories at least. And I'd never had a fire in a building. I had apartment fires, and you know, you have smoke in a building and you walk through something like that, but I'd never had a fire.
You're thinking,
so it's like, shit, what do we do?
Yeah.
I mean, I know we got to get water upstairs, but you know it's standpipes and blah, but we didn't train on it.
Right.
You know, we talk about it, we didn't train on it. At least then we didn't, you know, because things were a little different. But I'm thinking, man, you know, what's next? Here we go. And I remember getting the expressway and coming around and coming off there and catching the backside of it. You know, I really didn't see any fire from the backside because it's all in the front. And the airport, they had beat us there with the crash trucks, and they put a hell of a knock on it. You know, because, I mean, that thing was going like it was nuts. And they put a hell of a knock on it, knocked a bunch of the fire down. But but they couldn't get a lot of the fire that was already inside, because they were working on the airplane and things like that. And so it had obviously gotten in and traveled up, through the elevator shafts and on the upper floors. And I remember they assigned us to the back of the building, to the top floor, and they want us to use that as two things: a staging area for anybody who got in trouble and needed to get out. They could go up.
For other crews?
Yeah.
Okay.
They could go up. Well, anybody, but specifically
civilians and crew.
The guys that were working, they needed a place to get out.
Okay.
So we set up to the very back corner, and you can see this in the pictures. If you look at any of the pictures, you'll see our truck. And we barely reached the top floor window. Full extension, barely reached it. We got the bottom of the bucket, the walk pad around the bucket, up to the sill of that window, and the truck stopped. Wow. Right,
that's meant to be right there.
Yeah. So we took the window out, which was another deal. We had a thing going on at the time about they were busting our balls about taking too many windows out and stuff, back then. And
take windows just to take it.
We were a little window crazy, but it was just it was a funny thing back then. But anyway, we got it up there, got the window cleaned out, and I remember we took lights, because we had battle lanterns back then, as we used to call them.
Oh yeah.
And extra packs and bottles. We just took everything we could. And I'm gonna tell you, if you ever made about 15 or 18 trips up and down a ladder truck.
Oh man. No.
I mean,
I don't want to.
For me to do that now, they'd need to put one of those little chair lifts that old people have, and I'd have to ride that thing up,
Yeah.
So, but anyway.
Full pack, everything?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, Matt, they had packs back then.
Yeah.
Oh, you never know. No, I'm just saying this.
Yeah.
With guys working up there and up on that possibly seventh floor,
I think it was 7.
It looks, I didn't want to sit there and count.
I think it was 7.
Okay.
Because of where we had to park, we lost some reach. Mm-hmm. So I think it was 7, and the 85 just made it. But, we got everything up there, and then they want us to start a search from the top down. So we did, and we didn't end up finding anybody. But, that's kind of an eerie deal when you've never done anything like that, because we had good smoke conditions on all the floors. Jet fuel and all the carpet and all that stuff that was burning on the lower floors, clearly is upstairs. And it was eerie, so we searched from 7 down, and we met people coming up, but yeah, man, we did that for, we were there for, I don't know, 6, 7, 8 hours probably that evening. And
wow.
But yeah, it was intense for a while, until we got the main fire knocked down. There was fire in all the elevator shafts, but man, we did a good job. IFD, they got their box there, and some other companies from the other departments were there, but big deal.
Now, did the airport have a fire department at that time?
Oh yeah,
like they do now, as big and everything.
They had the one station, which they had for years, and I think they probably had less crash fire rescue vehicles then. But yeah, they did.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
I was curious about that.
They did, and they were there fast. But they got the advantage because they know what's going on. Tower's talking to them, and so they knew. But it was a long time before we knew that it was a military aircraft.
Oh wow.
Yeah. So and then the whole thing pops up. 45 minutes into it, hey, maybe this thing's armed. We don't know for sure, and it's like, oh great.
Shit.
Shit.
This isn't bad enough already.
Right. It could get worse.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, it was eerie.
It just
scary.
sounds wild.
Yeah, it was crazy. I've had a couple of those aircraft incidents that were substantial.
While out at Wayne Volunteer.
I had another one. I was at the old Franklin Township Fire Department back in the day. Yeah, it was September of '92, I think. That one. It was the mid-air crash over around Stop 11 and 5 Points.
Mid-air crash?
Mm-hmm.
So
you guys might not have been born yet. Were you born in 1992?
I was 7.
93.
Okay,
I was 7.
You probably don't know either.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll talk about that one another time.
What?
That was.
God. I'm gonna pull a mat right now.
That's crazy.
Wow. Wow. I
have
can't
too much
believe
water
it.
right now.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
It's all right. But gosh, yeah, man, I have just been in some places.
You've had an incredible career.
I have. Like I said, I mean, blessed, grateful, humble.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and I
gotta get in the camera view. Sorry.
I think, you know, one thing I've always said about this business, especially as long as I've been in it, sometimes it's hard for the civilian life people to relate to us. You know, because I think we're a certain way because of the things we see and the close bonds that we have with our brothers and sisters and people that understand us. And I think that I think it's hard sometimes to interact with people that don't, you know, because I'll have people say, "Oh, what's the worst thing you've ever?" It's like, you know, I don't really want to talk. I don't want to answer. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. I don't really want to talk about that.
I have heard that from other people. I mean, just friends that I have outside. I have a lot of friends outside of the fire service.
Yeah.
That I would say almost more than I do close relationships in the fire service. And they'll say, "What's the worst thing you've seen?" And then I don't get mean about it or anything. I'm just like, you know, man, like, depending on who the person is, I know what their intent is behind it.
Yeah.
And if it's a close friend, usually I'll like, this is what has affected me most.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'll tell them. And if it's somebody who I don't really have a great relationship with, I'm like, you know what, bud, that's not something I kind of want to think about right now.
Right.
It gets tough. By no means am I saying if I've seen the worst things.
Yeah.
Nowhere close to it. There's guys and gals out there that have seen way worse things that are dealing with a lot worse than why am I going to sit here and complain?
Right.
Who am I to sit here and complain about something that that I've been going through that somebody could be going through a lot worse?
Yeah.
And they're not being heard. They're not being listened to. No, they're not reaching out, which it could be problematic.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it makes it difficult because I've had those questions too.
Yeah, and it's just it's like you're not really going to understand if I tell you.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's like I'll talk to you for a couple minutes and then you'll have the you'll have the deer in the headlight look, you know, and it's like so, and I think that's one of the biggest things that I've noticed through this journey of mine is I think we're different as a group, you know, than people that aren't in this business, and it's hard for them to understand, you know, what we're talking about and what we're doing and why we are the way we are, and you know, our sense of humor doesn't necessarily match theirs.
Correct.
You know,
Yeah.
and they don't.
Not at all.
They don't.
That's why I had to
understand.
get up, because if I pissed my pants, I would never live that down.
Probably not.
I
So-
peed my pants like 30 minutes ago.
So
I got a bottle right here.
Off camera.
It's off camera. Well, not now.
Anyway.
So with talking about that, with the jokes and stuff, the humor that we have, I'll just go ahead. My in-laws are, you know, they're great people, very polite, courteous. They are
So they could never ever be firemen.
no.
Oh.
Which is
I don't think they like us very much.
They are like, and now I tell a joke.
Or him.
Well,
No,
I think he's a big.
They love us. They love me. They think we're all great, but they've hung out with us a couple times with the guys I work with, and like, oh, you guys are wild and you know, out there, and like, yep, oh yeah, and they're I'm like, thank God that we're out there, and you know, but it's a thing where that made me realize, because I'd have to be, I'm close with them, and it's like, you know, there are a lot of people who it'd be like septic workers.
Yeah.
And I've done work for, these are all insurance companies calling me right now.
You need to handle it.
Well, I will here in a second. I got 4 of them that have already called.
How long are we into this deal anyway?
Hour and 38 minutes.
Oh, we'll wrap it up so you can handle that.
Yeah, it's all right.
In a little bit.
I flooded my house a little bit. So, with what?
You.
I ain't got no water right now, Ryan.
Yeah, but
Did
the
you
whole
flush, by the
entire
way?
time.
Don't
No,
flush.
I didn't.
Don't flush. Oh God, don't flush. But with a lot of how we act at the firehouse and how we talk to each other on fire scenes and everything, it is completely different than how a normal, I'll say, civilian acts. And
Well, yeah.
Well, that's why they would look
completely
at us and
different
go,
relationships. Like, yeah.
What the hell is wrong with these people?
Yeah. You know what?
And it's,
Everything.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
you know.
there's a lot involved in that, and
There is.
by no means am I knocking the civilian life. I haven't since I've been in the fire service. The only time I've had off was 3 months at most when I had something going on, and it was different.
Yes.
It was just like I didn't feel that I didn't feel alive.
Yeah.
I didn't feel like like life, danger. I didn't feel like I was. It's so tough to put it into words because it was a few years back, but I did not feel like I was applying myself to be worth anything. Mm-hmm. I felt like I was just worthless because I'm not doing anything to apply myself to help my city. Like I stuck at home,
right,
doing nothing.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of people out there that feel like that, and how I get that enjoyment, how I get that itch, how I get that taste is going and helping, whether it be through church activities, whether it be volunteering my time somewhere. But the fire service really helps out with helping others, and it does more for me than it does them. I think it sounds so cliche, but it really does. Yeah. It really puts more of an effect on myself. I would say that for a lot of guys, but until we step back and step away to appreciate it. Until then, at that point, I don't think a lot of guys will see it like that.
That's what I mean, and that's what Dillman, he said, make sure, and I thought I was smart enough at that age to listen, and I didn't, because I thought I was ready, but I wasn't sure, so and it's funny, we talk about the civilian life versus us, and my wife, God love her, I'm a pain in her ass. I mean, because she came into this late, with me, and I love her to death. I mean, she's awesome, but I just, there are days that I know she looks at me and it's like, are you 12? And it's like, yes, I am. I mean, it's just, I don't know. I just that I have that odd sense of humor, and I like to be funny, and she just, God, I know I drive her up a wall, but she's a saint, man. I'll tell you. You have to be.
And it's good to have that. We talked about this before. Great support back at home. It's really healthy, I think, to have that. My wife supports me in a lot of the decisions that I'll make here. Right? You got some?
Do you feel like you got that second win with your son?
Oh,
now?
yeah.
Like,
oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, I know exactly what you mean.
It's
a rejuvenation.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, not that I'd ever lost the passion or drive. That will never happen.
Absolutely.
But watching him, and I told him, I said, he said, well, I hope I can be as good as you can. And I said, don't be as good as me. Be better than me. Listen to all these guys out here, that are way better than I am and have done way more than me, and be better.
Yeah.
That's what you want. It's just like us as supervisors. It's cliche. I know you hear it a lot, but you want your people to be ready to take your job and be better than you. Mm-hmm. If you're here for the right reason.
Yes.
You want, I always said, if there's somebody who's ready to do this and they're better than me, then by all means,
have at it.
do it. I got places to go, and that's what we're here for. You should want to leave someplace better than you found it and make people better than you.
I told you I had that conversation last night with that chief, and literally word for word, just what you said.
Yeah.
It's incredible. He said the same thing.
Because he is a badass.
Yeah.
And I respect him to no end. And you'll see that when you get him in here.
Yes.
And start talking to him. I mean, but I mean, really, that's why we're here.
Mm-hmm.
You ask what the future of us, what's our future? What's the future hold? Well, that depends on if there's enough of us that are still here in my range to do just that. Keep and don't forget about the old days.
Right.
Never forget about the old days. You know, just like the new science, I give it its due attention, and then I go on about my business. You know, I what happened to slicers, by the way? Doesn't
man,
anybody heard about that anymore?
I haven't heard slicers in a while.
I'm just curious where they might have went. I'm sure the keyboard.
Oh, do you know?
I don't know. I'm sure the keyboard warriors are going to let me know.
Yeah, well, if they comment on it.
Yeah.
But I mean, I just wonder where they went.
Yeah.
Anyway.
I look forward to those comments.
I sure do.
Yeah.
I sure do. Saucer, he's a big slicer guy. He can tell you all about it.
I'm sure he'll comment.
Hey,
Kaplan, need you comment?
Sure he'll comment now. Yeah. He's not, for the record. I just said that to make him comment. Yeah. I mean, we definitely need to remember where we came from and keep these guys.
I just told a guy the other day. He just got a career job, and I told him, you know, like, you have to remember where you came from.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
where we came from. Why are we sitting here?
Absolutely.
Those guys with the big balls cranking their ladders up 100 feet.
Yes.
By hand.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. Those guys. The guy with the bugle running down the street.
Yep.
Those guys. You know.
Yep. Absolutely.
Don't forget those guys.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, and that's what we have to keep instilling in these guys. Even the ones that come in and you hear those friggin' kids, pull them in there and say, "Sit down, kid. It's time for you to learn why you're here.
Yeah.
And where you came from, and where I came from, or where my grandpa came from, and blah, 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 on and on and on." You know, if we don't do that, what you see on Hit It Hard from the Yard
it's gonna keep
is gonna take over.
It's gonna take it over, yeah.
It's gonna take over. And that's not the image we want out there.
No.
You know.
Don't want those T-shirt guys.
I might think. I've never had any desire to, write a book or write an article, or that's just not who I want to write. I wanted to write a book about this career that I've had in the fire service. Mm-hmm. All the funny shit and all the things that happen and all the people. That's the book I want to write. I don't want to write something to tell somebody how to change things or do this, or you know what I'm saying. I mean, I want something people can sit down, enjoy, and go, what a crazy ride,
Yes.
Mm-hmm. From here, from this little kid to now, to 56 years old, and hopefully have another 10 years doing this, and I just, that's, and I take notes all the time. I got a whole thing of notes that I started. I told my wife a few months I said, write a book.
Right.
About me. Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Write a book about me and all these people that have influenced me, and good and bad, but I've been blessed to, I've worked for way more goods than bads. Way more.
Yes.
There's been a couple bad eggs in there, I tell you, but I survived. But
and we're gonna keep having those bad
eggs.
eggs.
You're gonna have that. And here's the thing. They flush themselves out eventually.
Yeah.
It happens. So they'll rise to the top, and
you can still learn from them.
Yeah, learn what to do.
Exactly. My mom always said that.
That's critical.
Yeah.
It is.
Yes.
I can remember so many times that I'd look and go, I'm not sure if that's the right thing to do, but from the reaction of everybody else,
I'm going to
go with no. So I'm going to put that right back here for someday if I'm ever anybody, not to do that.
Yes.
And the other thing that I promised, and I think is huge, when you leave the companies and you go to the office, don't forget about those guys. Because it seems like so many times, it's like you see these guys move in there and it's like you talk to them in a week and they're a different person. It's like, wait a minute. Were you just like peeing outside the firehouse 2 weeks ago because somebody was in the bathroom and laughing about it with a cowboy hat on? You know what I'm saying? And now I friggin' do X thing, and now you're all over my ass for it? You know what I'm saying? What are you doing?
And that's...
You're here to take care of these guys.
That's funny you just said that, too, because that Crew First Culture podcast, Captain Sanders, he started a new program, and it's called, the Underground Leadership.
Yeah.
That's what he talked about. Guys, they just want to be appreciated.
That's it.
That's how you're going to get guys to work for you and want to do. I mean, they want to feel appreciated. They want to feel wanted, you know?
Right.
So, you know, I mean, I'm glad you hit on that because, I mean, that's absolutely true.
You know, one thing that, tell them what you expect, give them the tools to do the job, and leave them alone. And that comes from a very wise man, Brand X Chief, who taught me so much when I went, you know, into the office for those 2 years. And that was one thing he said all the time, and he stood by it. And it's money.
Mm-hmm.
Leave them alone. I mean, most people want to do good.
Yeah.
They want to do the right thing, and they want to be able to do it on their own. You know, to say, well, we got this. We can do this. Just leave them alone. You know, and that's I took that spot for 2 reasons. I didn't want it necessarily, but I took it because I knew in my heart that I could make a difference in the organization, and I knew that I could take care of those guys and girls.
And those are the guys you want taking those spots.
And that, and I told them, and I hope that they'll agree with me when I say I never forgot where I came from when I took that spot. I never forgot what it was like to be a fireman, to be the guy that's catching the shit, or that's up all night, you know, or, you know, they need to get away for something and they don't have time, or something's up. Just go, you know. I mean, it can be a tough job sometimes.
Yeah.
It's the best,
Mm-hmm.
but it can be tough, you know. And our job as the senior guy, the senior leaders, the seniors, we were here for them. We're not here for us.
Right.
You know, we're not. I didn't care about the take-home car, and I don't give a shit about all that stuff, you know. And so I just wanted to make sure that they were taken care of, and I think I left a positive mark, and I think that's what we should all do, you know. That's why we should be there. We shouldn't be there to hassle guys, or, you know, it's like, oh, I'm here now, so guess what we're going to do. You know, if you're doing that, probably need to find someplace else to go.
And you had really cool fucking hair when you were in that office.
I did have cool hair.
I mean, that shit was cool.
It was cool.
Did you grow it all out?
Yeah.
I kind of don't remember that.
You don't?
No.
Bro.
Yeah, it was crazy.
Was it all the way down the back?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I think I do remember.
Jeez, I said, hey, look, you know, I'm rolling up out of here a little bit. So what do you think?
It was awesome.
So you do your job. I don't care.
Right.
So I said, all right, I'll do my job, and you know, we'll go from there. But yeah, man, I don't know. Anyway, that's my answer to where we're gonna go and how we're gonna get there.
I think it's pretty good.
We need to.
Yeah.
We need to do the right thing.
What would be some
By them.
By them, but as in the civilians, or the new guys coming in.
We need to do the right thing by the fucking kids coming in.
Yeah.
Now, there's a small percentage that just won't make it.
Mm-hmm.
They're just not cut, and that's okay.
Yep. That's fine.
Let him work with him, but let him know. It's like, look, man, I think you probably should find something else, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And this is why. You know, but give him the chance, give him the opportunity, help him. You know, I mean, that's what we're supposed to do, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
We say brotherhood all the time.
Yeah.
Brothers are supposed to take care of each other.
Yep.
So what would be something that you would tell the next generation coming into this? If you could think of one thing that you've learned out of your entire career to pass on to the next generation, what would it be?
I would tell them to learn everything you can about the heritage of this great privilege that you have been given, and never disrespect it, ever. That's what I would say.
I think that's pretty awesome, actually.
Yeah, that is.
That's, you know what, because really, That's what it all was. So much of this shit is smoke and mirrors. That's out there, you know?
Mm-hmm.
I refer back to the old days. For me, what's the old day? You know, some of these older guys listen to the old day. We used to get on that fire truck, and we'd throw our 3/4 boots on. We'd throw our old Nomex fire coat on and a metal helmet or whatever you had.
Oh, yeah.
And we'd just go. And we'd put fires out. And that's it. That's all it was.
Would you say it was more simpler times?
Yeah. Absolutely. Nobody's filming us. Nobody's waiting for us to make a mistake.
Right.
You know? We're just jumping on the truck because you called and we're going to come put fire out. And
that makes sense.
It was great. And I've seen it evolve from that. And, you know, guys that were doing this in the 60s and like Dillman, they're going to tell you, you know, they're going to tell you better than I can about that. You know, but that's all it is. Just get on the fire truck and go.
Yep.
Or get in the ambulance, because the ambulance, that's the thing. Get in the ambulance and go. You know, that's really what we're doing here. If they're bleeding, stop it. If they can't breathe, give them oxygen.
Yep.
Right?
They deserve our best.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, isn't that what we're doing?
Mm-hmm.
That's all it is. I mean,
it's simple.
It's simple.
Keep it simple.
The thing is, so many people make it so hard.
That was the first acronym I learned.
Let me give you an example. This one's going to get some keyboard people riled up. Let's talk about, not the Facebook page, Hit It Hard from the Yard. The slogan. And you can thank me for my service after I tell you this. I, along with Tony Buckrop that I mentioned, and many other people from my era, guys at Brand X that have been there for a long time, you name it. We have gotten off of fire trucks and pulled up in front of houses where we had fire just blasting out of the front door. You know, the front window, whatever. And I vividly remember saying, pull that line off and knock that shit down so we can go in right there. I didn't need a name for it. I didn't need to write an article about it. I didn't need a publication with my name on it. You follow what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Just spray water in there and knock it down so we can go in. Well, somebody said, well, let's call it Hit It Hard from the Yard and I'll make $100,000 by doing that. You see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I think the commercialization part of the fire service hurts too. Because we really kind of get away from what our mission really is. You know, we don't need to write books and just to make ourselves somebody. You know what I mean? Just be somebody by doing what you know to do and pass it on to those who want the knowledge. That's how you make something of yourself, you know? Now, I'm not discounting the people that do write the, you know, like the training articles and things like that. But I don't mean it that, I hope nobody misconstrues that, but you know, it's the stuff we've been doing for years and years and years, you know, and that's one thing that's always kind of got to me. It's like, we've been doing that forever. Why do we need to commercialize it and turn it into a big deal? Just,
right.
You know, that's kind of how I look at it. And that's probably an old school attitude, mentality, and that's fine. If, you know, if somebody doesn't like it, that's fine too. Mm-hmm. But, you know, I think that the social media piece and then the commercializing things is, you know, it's just taking, I don't know, it's taking us, it could take us down a road we don't want to go on. I think.
I agree with that.
People that are a lot smarter than me will probably say, he's fucking dumb. But that's okay. Mm-hmm. I've got big shoulders. I've been called dumb before.
But the social media piece can also be used to be helpful, like you were saying earlier, for stuff like this to happen.
Absolutely.
You know? And we're not making money off of it, which I'm fine with.
Yeah. You know what, too? There is nothing wrong, and this is my opinion, again, people, with guys after a good job and you know, and they worked hard and getting a picture with everybody.
Yeah.
You know, there's nothing. That, or getting a picture with your son or your daughter.
Yeah.
Or your brother or your sister. Mm-hmm. That is history. That makes memories. That's not guy in bunker pants and no shirt and helmet with pregnant girl in fire coat.
That's right.
Sounds oddly specific.
That's went to another fire because we fight what you fear. It's like, what? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, absolutely.
There is a huge difference in those two things. Mm-hmm. And if we don't take appropriate pictures at the appropriate time,
correct,
and make memories, then it'll just die off too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You know?
That's, I still have several pictures of us from, when we got back from the fire. We used to have after fire pops.
Yep, fire pops.
Fire pops, We'd all come back and we'd all get a soda and we would all sit down in the office and drink it together.
Or the front bumper.
Or the front bumper.
There's times we sat on the front
we
bumper
would always take a crew picture after a fire, and those are memories. Like I look back on it and man, I think that was
it brings up a lot of nostalgia in it when you look years down the line, which I haven't been in the fire service very, very long, but that fire that we had the picture of together where it was my first real fire pumping.
Yeah.
And it was an exciting one. That when I look at the picture that we have,
it's so cool.
Thankfully we took one.
Yeah.
And
I'll tell you a guy who
I'm glad we did that.
Really got it about the history part and taking pictures. And may he rest in peace, Roger Birchfield. Mm-hmm. That dude, man, he was a history buff for this business. Mm-hmm. And his stories were amazing. I remember my days in dispatch. And he used to call me every morning. He worked for the paper. He used to call me every morning. Yes, Birchfield. Anything overnight? Every morning I said, hey, Roger, how you doing? We'd chat a little bit. I said, it's pretty quiet overnight, a few EMS runs. But, man, he evolved into just this huge piece of history. And, it's guys like that keep this alive.
Yes.
And, how awesome, the things he did. And it was a tough deal, losing somebody like that.
Absolutely.
But that's what I mean. I mean, just what we've done and what we do and what we're going to do in the future. Let's not lose it. By not taking pictures and telling stories and the right type of pictures and
right. And that right there, that's the important part. It's got to be the right picture.
It does.
It has to be the right picture.
Yeah, you don't want to go up in front of somebody's house and say, ma'am, could you scoot over a little bit?
Right.
I understand you're crying. You just lost your home.
We need to get a shot.
Right.
That's common sense.
Yeah. Yeah. And but those are the guys that ruin it for us.
Those are the guys that ruin it for you because they don't think about that.
Yeah, they don't think about what's going on.
There's a time and a place for everything.
Absolutely.
And it has to be appropriate and in good taste. And, you love the guys and girls you work with.
Yes.
So you got to have that, That's how we're going to get where we're going,
Yeah, absolutely. You got to keep that alive.
Do it right. And like I said, just let these guys know what opportunity they just got. And they're not all, some of them know. Some of them get it as soon as they come in, and it's refreshing when they do. But the ones that don't, they will. And like I said, read history, study, understand what you've gotten into and how deep it really is and what it means, how rich in history it is.
And grow an awesome mustache.
And you can grow an awesome mustache.
But I can't do that.
I can't do it either.
With great mustache comes great responsibility.
Well,
mustache.
Here's the thing.
Ask Peter Griffin.
I can't grow right here.
Yes.
Peter Griffin?
Ask Peter Griffin.
Yeah.
God.
It was Peter Parker.
But that's a big thing that we wanted to do was get guys on here to tell the stories because the stories need to be told. I say this every episode, the stories need to be told. I can't wait till we can get Lieutenant Dillman on.
Yeah.
I hope we get that opportunity. And
he's so passionate about it. He is, my gosh, he's
great.
The best. Yeah, you'll get some good stuff.
Yeah. I hope it happens soon.
I'm real excited.
Yeah. Me too. What else you want to talk about? Wrapping it up?
Well, we can do, if you want to have more time on the podcast than Dale, we've got about 2 more minutes.
Oh, God,
if you want to beat his time.
something.
So, what is your most fond memory in the fire service that you've got? That's something that you always think back on whenever you're down.
Oh my!
When we hear that story, that'll be past the mark where Dale was, and then we can.
I don't know. That might be a tough answer. I don't know. There's so many. You know what? You know what it's got to be right now. My kid.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's been a ton of fond memories. It's probably my kid, right? But I can tell you, when I was in the companies, I don't know that there was ever a day that I woke up and said, I don't want to go to work today. You know what I'm saying? I don't think that ever happened. I never missed a day. But I don't think that ever happened. Even long into it, I can remember walking in the fire station and just smiling. You know, it's like, I get to
truly
do this?
is. Yeah.
Kidding me?
Yeah.
They let me do this. Just a freaking average C student, middle class kid from Southport, Indiana.
Wow, you were a C student?
You know,
that's incredible.
Straight D's.
Yeah.
You know, it's like I get to do this, man, and and you just nobody understands. You can't make anybody who doesn't do it understand what it means, and that's fine. It's totally okay. You know,
I truly look forward to going into work every single day.
Even with all the turmoil, political crap.
Yes.
Or whatever's happening at your particular place. I don't mean you as in your as in the big picture. Mm-hmm. At your place, at whatever time, the fact of the matter is, you still get to call yourself a fireman.
Yeah. I love where I'm at. I love what I do.
And, you still get to get on that truck.
Yeah.
Or for the folks that prefer the ambulance, you still get to get in that ambulance,
We need those people.
Whatever it is, yeah. We do. But you still get to call yourself a fireman.
Yeah.
And that's it in a nutshell right there. That's it.
It's great.
You don't need to say anything else.
No.
It's like, I'm still a fireman, so.
I love it.
Don't disrespect it. I've tried not to. I mean, I always try to do right by, everybody that I'm tasked to do right by. I don't always get it right. I've not always gotten it right, but heart's in the right place.
Mm-hmm.
So, that's 95% of it right there. Right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So,
I think that's a great place to end, and we also beat Dale's time.
As long as I beat Dale's time.
As long as you beat Dale's time. Well, thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you.
It really means a lot to both of us.
That you asked me.
Really? Well,
yes,
thank you. That is
well,
really cool.
We appreciate all of your support. I mean, it's overwhelming, having you come on here and supporting us throughout. We appreciate it so much.
You're doing a good thing.
It's really cool because Ryan does all the media stuff. He does all the outreach. He does all that. And when he texts me or calls me and says, "Hey man, we got this and this," I'm like, "Are you kidding me?" Like, people were enjoying it. Like, we got Jeff Wilson's coming on. Like, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's great.
Dale's coming on. Like, this is awesome. And our next guest we'll be having. It's like, it's cool.
There's a lot.
There's
a lot
really
of
cool.
Important, good men and women out there in this job that need to be sitting in this chair.
Well,
and
we hope to have them.
Hopefully, one by one, you'll pick them out and get them on here, and we'll keep this thing going. And I would love to come back.
We want this to keep going.
Oh yeah.
Tell some more stories. We didn't even get.
Oh, you'll be back.
Quarter of the way through my.
Yeah, you'll be back.
Oh no, you'll be back on to talk about it.
Guys used to give me so much shit about, what fire department are you on this week? Because I'm thinking, I'm going to get on there because I can go on more fires there too. So if I just keep getting on all these places, certainly I'm going to get more fires.
Be on every department in the state.
On every single one. So that was always a running joke, that, and it's like, it's like, I was always kind of known for, I'd be going on a call and I'd get some information. It's like, well, you better give me a box on that. I always wanted to be one step ahead everything that was in front of me. You know
I
what I'm
always
saying?
used to love listening to you on the radio.
Always wanted to be one step ahead because I'm just thinking to myself, where is this thing right now? Where's it going to go from the phone call to me getting there or to us getting there? You know, and how am I going to stop it?
Hell
You know?
yeah.
That's what I was always thinking. Where is it? Where's it going to go? How's it going to get there? And how am I going to stop it? Always.
That's great.
So if I thought, you know what, it's this building and maybe it's this, maybe it's not, maybe it is, I better call for this and add this stuff. You know,
That's a good mindset to have.
I'll always stop them. You know, they're probably not doing anything anyway that they don't want to get up and go.
Yeah.
You know, so yeah, I just, you know, and guys, they blow me shit about it. That's like, I haven't burned anything down lately. So and let me tell you, that's a whole other story. I have been a team member in burning some good buildings down.
Yeah. Well, Matt brought that up last week with
Dan.
Captain Sauce.
Yeah.
A touchy subject.
It's all right, you know.
Training house.
What about that training? Tell me about that training house. Did you ever watch that episode? I didn't think it was that touchy. You know, it was a question I had.
It was pretty funny when he brought that up.
And if you guys haven't seen that episode, go back and watch
Episode 3.
Episode 3. Wait,
I'll
was
tell
it
you
3?
what, when him and I are in here, we'll talk about that again.
Yeah, that would be great. I would love to see that.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Well, thank you so much again for coming on.
Thank you again.
I'm gonna go ahead and close this out with
Appreciate it.
everybody. And if you guys really enjoyed this video, please like, comment, and then subscribe to the YouTube channel if you haven't already. Comment. It really helps out. So tell us your favorite story that you've had in the fire service. So tell us where you think the fire service is going in the next 10, 15, 20 years. So thank you so much for tuning in, guys. We appreciate you. Be safe out there.